My name is Tahlia and I'm the founder of HERstory. HERstory is a hosiery brand that specializes in tights that perfectly match all brown skin tones. Shortly after I finished university, I got a job in New York, working in HR within an investment bank. And I was just really excited about being in a new city and having access to products that I couldn't necessarily find in London, like hair products, makeup, and I just wanted tights that matched my skin tone. So being one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the world, I thought I could just go to any department store, pop in, get my tights, be done. But it wasn't so simple. So I ended up collecting tights, hoarding tights, and this became like a New York-wide search, a US-wide search, a global search, and I just couldn't find anything that matched my skin tone. And so I really wanted to kind of write angry letters to brands saying like, why don't you see me? Why aren't you considering and making products for women of color? But then I thought, you know, even if I did that, are they in a place to cater to my needs? And so I had studied international business and I'd always thought I would start a brand of some kind. I didn't think it would be tights, but I thought, you know what? I'm in a good place to start this. I am a Black woman, I understand our needs, I understand the complexity of our skin tones, and so it was kind of, how hard could it be? And I think it was that naivety that encouraged me to start the brand. It took about 3 years from having the struggle to being convicted that this is going to be the thing that I pursue. To be honest, I think like a lot of us, when we have an issue, we go to our friends, we go to our families, and we're like, I can't find tights. And it became like a reoccurring conversation and everyone really identified with this challenge. And so I knew that I wasn't alone. And I knew that it was something that had been going on for decades. My mum had experienced it. I know her mum had experienced it. My friends had experienced it. And it was just like, well, why are we all kind of complaining and not doing anything about it? So I had decided that I was going to solve this issue. And I wanted to create a brand that spoke to the people and the women that I know and have known growing up. And I think what really led me to being convinced that it was me is I think I have quite a unique perspective on what does it mean to be a woman of color, or what does it mean to be a Black woman? And I think a lot of the images that we see in brands are very stereotypical, and I didn't really see myself being portrayed in many of the brands, even the ones that tried to speak to us. And so I really wanted to create something that represented women who are doing great things and living in nice places and have traveled the world and have aspirations. So not kind of a mythical creature, because like we are doing it and we do have great jobs. And I think I just want to normalize that confident, radiant, ambitious woman, because I turn left and I turn right and they're there, you know, and growing up I've always seen these women and they've been all shades of brown, but I just haven't seen them really represented in a brand. And so I think apart from it being a challenge that I had myself, I just really wanted to represent women of color in a way that felt authentic to me, that I think was missing. Yes, we have diverse skin tones. Yes, we want to celebrate all of our achievements, but it's kind of looking at women holistically. You know, we're not just a color. And I think that's what came through when I decided on the shade names, which are conveniently named after cosmopolitan and desirable cities, my 5 favorite cities. So there's Havana Glow, Rio Romance, New York Soul, which is what I'm wearing now, Nairobi Sunrise, and Parisian Dream. And I guess why that's of such importance is because women of color are holistic, very well-rounded beings. And I think a lot of the time when brands name their shades like mocha or chocolate or cappuccino. It just kind of reduces us to edible goods that are very just like surface level. But it's like, you know, what are our experiences? Where have we been? Where we're going? And what are our memories and the parts of us, or where do we find the best parts of us, which is sometimes in the travel stories. Everyone that I'd spoken to was like, yes, like this is challenge that I have. So I think there was a lot of confirmation and affirmation throughout the process that just meant that it was kind of a natural thing that I should do, because it's not something that I ever left university thinking that I would start. Like, I'm going to go and start a tights brand. It never crossed my mind. And to be honest, I don't think I'm even a fanatical tights person. Of course, now I am. But it was literally something that fell into my lap. It's important to note the journey and all the different cultural experiences. I was born and grew up in Australia, which is the accent that you hear. A lot of people think it's American, but it's not. So I think that had a big underpinning of who I am, my identity, and kind of where I feel comfortable, which is everywhere and anywhere. So I think that was a really good nurturing environment for me to start in, because I think in Sydney, although there was a very, very small Caribbean and Black population, we were part of a really close-knit community, which really embraced my Caribbean, Jamaican heritage, and I was always proud to be Black, even if I was the only one in the room, which was very often. But I think I had a strong sense of identity, cultural identity from the very beginning. Coming to London at the age of 15, I had certain expectations of access to products, or even just the imagery that I would see on newspapers and magazines and on television. And I felt that it was really lacking. And so I thought that I could, you know, be able to walk into shops on the high street. At the time I was living in Walthamstow, and it was still a struggle to go to Boots and Superdrug and find what you needed, and you always had to go to Pax and the specific Black shops. And I was like, but this is London and there's so many Black people, I don't understand. And then during my university degree, as I mentioned, I studied international business, which required me to spend a year in Brazil. Which was amazing. When we think of Brazil, we think about, you know, Rio and all the brown-skinned, beautiful people on the beach and cocktails and all this stuff. But I was in the south of Brazil, which I equate to the Texas of Brazil, which is very like white, macho, European influences. So most people kind of look more like Giselle Bundchen. So yeah, it was a very different cultural experience. And again, access to things like hair products, makeup. I actually had to get my mum to send stuff to me because there was nothing. And so again, I had expectations of what it would be like to be a Black woman in Brazil, but not all of Brazil is the same. It's very diverse. And where I happened to be, there just wasn't a big Black population, and therefore there wasn't that same level of access. And so I guess fast forward a few years, when I landed in New York, I think I was just fed up. My personal identity, I guess, is made up of my culture, which I am of Jamaican heritage. Both of my parents are Jamaican. But I guess it also is the things that I enjoy doing outside of sheer chemistry. And when I started the brand, I think like many founders, you become quite immersed in the business. And the first hashtag that Sheer Chemistry used when we launched is I am Sheer Chemistry, which was a celebration of just everyone identifying with the sheer chemistry experiences of finding a piece of themselves in our products. And I really felt like I am sheer chemistry. After the launch, I was asked by a friend, you know, so apart from sheer chemistry, what's going on? And I had this moment where I was like, I don't have anything going on. And so it was kind of an inner turmoil. Of course I answered in some way, but I was just like, I don't know who I am, and I don't know what my hobbies are, because I don't have any hobbies. All I do is work on my business. And so I think it was for me kind of a going back to who I am and rediscovering my passions. And that's when I reconnected with things like travel and live music, and getting back to running, which is a big part of what I enjoy. I would say HERstory is definitely the best version of itself when I'm the best version of myself. I always say I just want to celebrate the diversity of women of colour holistically, but I also want to be a multi-million-pound, world-renowned international business. And so I just want all the women of colour around the world to know and love HERstory. This year, one of my ambitions for HERstory is to raise capital so that we can continue our international expansion. And so I think if anyone has any connections in terms of investors, partners, that's retail partners or collaborators, send them my way. We're on all socials at HERstory. Our website is HERstory.com. But also, we're looking to do a lot more community-led initiatives this year. We're actually planning our second community-led photo shoot next week. And I guess it's just about involving the community that has supported us throughout our whole 8 years now, and involving them on the journey, which I think is just a way to give back, and also a way for them to be part of the journey. But as well as that, we're going to be doing a lot of in-person events as well, so we can connect that way.